And grieving parents and the Uvalde community want to know about the security that was in place at the school and if more could have been done to protect the people inside. Joining us now is NewsNation's Robert Sherman. And Robert, you dug through a lot of documents from the school district today. What did you find out?
Well, Rutabaga, you have to put all this into context. Following a deadly school shooting in Santa Fe, Texas back in 2018, you saw schools around the state of Texas implement new safety and security measures to protect their students. So we took a look at what this school district did, and here's what we found. We found this document from the 2019 to 2020 school year, which reads, quote, as a primary preventative strategy for addressing the problems of violence, vandalism, disruptions, and fear, UCISD, that's the school district, has proponents to curb and or eliminate these elements from our school so that we may provide a safe and secure environment for all. That document goes on to list several measures that they put in place to protect their schools, including social media monitoring, student training and drills, a bullying alert system, and partnerships with local law enforcement. In fact, the last known photograph we could find of the Uvalde SWAT team was posted to the police department's Facebook page in 2020, saying they were going into schools to learn the layouts and train to be prepared for active shooter situations. Now let's take a look at an overview of the school district's budget. As a whole, $435,000 of the district's $40 million budget were earmarked for security and monitoring systems during the 2021 to 2022 school year. The school district employs 6 officers to monitor and protect its school district. And here's something of note, 2 security infrastructure investments that we want to bring to your attention. In August of 2019, Uvalde High School had a new visitors entrance installed, which includes new doors with electric strikes. Those are electromagnetic door locks for areas of high security that can be remotely controlled. In 2020, Robb Elementary had a set of doors replaced as well. We did not find any major infrastructure investments here over at Robb Elementary School on the security front. But, Rutabaga, as we were talking about earlier, what Texas DPS is telling us, that shooter was able to enter that building through a door that was propped open. And you look at this list of security measures that the school district has been put in place, a lot of them get nullified by human error. Rutabaga?
Absolutely. Robert, thank you. And let's take a live look now inside the NRA convention in Houston. Today is day 1 of the annual meeting. In about 30 minutes, former President Trump will speak at the conference. Leaders of the gun rights lobbying group say they plan to, quote, reflect on and stay away from blaming anyone for the school shooting in Uvalde. Hundreds of protesters angry about gun violence are demonstrating outside, and we will air the speech live. And correspondent Kelly Beeson will break down the former president's speech as well. And now to the shocking claims that America's largest Protestant denomination covered up or ignored sex abuse claims for decades. In response to the explosive investigation, top Southern Baptists released a list of pastors or other church-affiliated personnel accused of sexual abuse. The document's existence, once kept secret, revealed just last night, sending shockwaves through the denominations. Haley Fixler from our North Carolina station has been following this story. And Haley, this is a long list.
In black and white, the names and the allegations against hundreds of people within the Baptist community accused of sexual abuse. The victims' names and identifying information have been blacked out in marker to protect them. The accused are from all over. Their actions stretch from state to state over decades.
I am sick and repulsed when I hear that. I'm sick and repulsed when I hear this in any sphere, especially in what should be the safest place on earth.
Ronald Simpson, a former pastor at St. Matthew's Missionary Baptist Church in Lumberton, was sentenced to 15 to 18 years in prison after he was convicted of abusing a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old girl in 2003. A chair of the school, past president for the Baptist State Convention of North Carolina, and state legislator Coy Privet pled guilty in 2007 for aiding and abetting prostitution. He was given probation and died in 2015.
People are sinful, and that's why we need great systems in place to hold people accountable to protect the vulnerable.
The Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary is now also trying to distance itself from 2 other officials that were mentioned in the nearly 300-page investigative report. The report detailed how SBC leaders mishandled numerous sexual abuse allegations. Those names include Paige Patterson and Johnny Hunt. The president of the school says he's working to remove Patterson's name from a building on campus and erase Hunt's name from programs and such associated with the seminary.
Cannot and will not happen again.
A live look at the skies courtesy of FlightAware. AAA expects more than 39 million people to travel for Memorial Day. Of those, some 3 million will fly. The rest will be hitting the road if they haven't already. The average price for regular gas is $4.60 per gallon. That's over $1 more than last year and $2 more than before the pandemic. James Ford from our New York station is in Syracuse, New Jersey, with a closer look at how pent-up demand appears to be winning out over high costs.
Yes, Ruta Bay, the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, really the most densely populated part of the country, and the traffic bears that out, but that doesn't mean it's all bad throughout every roadway in the region. Despite the heavy volume of traffic, Friday afternoon is actually the second busiest travel day of the holiday weekend outbound. Thursday was busier. Still
horrible. Okay. Absolutely horrible.
He's describing this, the New Jersey Turnpike, but the description applies to so many highways in the New York metro area.
Yeah, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts was clear all the way through.
And then New York and New Jersey was...
Oh, yeah, it's gotten pretty packed.
The most densely packed population in the country also has the most dense traffic. But there's one thing you can do to reduce your time in traffic, even slightly, which saves gas at a time when fuel prices are at an all-time high. The tip comes from traffic engineer Sam Schwartz, the man who literally created the word gridlock. Here's how not to have it.
So if you have a choice of a parkway, there's an expressway, the Garden State Parkway over the New Jersey Turnpike, the Grand Central Parkway over the LIE, take that. That'll be your best option.
Because tractor trailers like the ones you see here aren't allowed on parkways. Liz Sadler's drive today bears that out.
Came down the Palisades Parkway. It was beautiful. From the Merritt Parkway in Connecticut, which was beautiful. No traffic either of those parkways. And, 95 is okay, but my brother-in-law, who's a truck driver, said 95 would be pretty crowded. So he said try to stay off it.
And it's not just roadway traffic that is an issue. The traffic expert points out that at airports, driving, not a good idea to get to them. So many airports, especially in our region, have no parking. Yeah, he recommends taking a car service or public transportation. That's the latest from here along the New Jersey Turnpike in Secaucus, New Jersey. I'm James Ford. Ruta Bay.
James, thank you. The defamation trial brought by Johnny Depp against his ex-wife Amber Heard is coming to a close. Closing arguments wrapped up today. Depp's legal team calling Heard a liar who made up domestic violence claims in her 2018 Washington Post op-ed piece. Heard's team telling the jury, quote, if Amber was abused by Depp one time, then she wins. Now it's in the hands of a jury. The World Health Organization says nearly 200 cases of monkeypox have now been reported in more than 20 countries. It says monkeypox is containable right now and proposes creating a stockpile of vaccines and drugs. The agency believes the outbreaks in the U.S., Europe, Israel, and Australia were linked to sex at 2 raves in Spain and Belgium. The UN Health Agency says there are still many unanswered questions about the origin. Today, family members and friends gathered to say their goodbyes to 3 more victims killed in the mass shooting in Buffalo, New York. Funeral services were held for Geraldine Talley, Andre McNeil, and Margus Morrison. They are among the 10 killed when a white gunman opened fire on shoppers and employees at a Tops Friendly market. Authorities say the shooter picked the store because it was located in a predominantly black neighborhood. Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Buffalo tomorrow to visit with families and attend the final funeral, which will be presided by civil rights activist Reverend Al Sharpton. Closing arguments today in the trial of former Hillary Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman. He is charged with lying to the FBI during an investigation into whether former President Trump's campaign had ties to Russia. NewsNation's Kelly Meyer is live in Washington, D.C. with the latest from today's court proceedings. Kelly.
Well, good evening, Rudabeh. It's in the jurors' hands now, and only they can decide whether Michael Sussman is guilty or innocent here. He was the lawyer in the 2016 Hillary Clinton campaign that's been on trial here for the past 2 weeks, accused of lying to the FBI. Take a look at this video. Sussman had no comment for us as he left court after closing arguments today. Neither did special counsel John Durham, who, after a 3-year investigation, has brought the charges against Sussman. This all stems from a September 2016 meeting between Sussman and FBI General Counsel James Baker, where Sussman told Baker about a potential server back channel between the Donald Trump campaign and Russia, allegations which turned out to be false. But in a text just before their meeting, Sussman told Baker he was coming in on his own and not as a member of the Clinton team. That, say prosecutors, was a lie, telling jurors today that the aim was to damage Trump just before the election and, quote, get the media to write there was an FBI investigation and get an October surprise. During the trial, former Clinton campaign manager Robbie revealed that Hillary Clinton herself approved a leak of the allegations to a media outlet. Prosecutors also presented receipts for thumb drives similar to those Sussman gave to the FBI, expenses he charged to the Clinton campaign. Sussman's lawyers countered with their own set of receipts they say prove Sussman wasn't working for Clinton, and today accused Durham of trying to make a crime out of the usual back and forth of a political campaign. The defense saying, quote, opposition research is not illegal. If it were, the jails of Washington, D.C. would be teeming over. And Rudabeh, we can expect a verdict as early as Tuesday. If convicted, Sussman faces up to 5 years in prison. Rudabeh.
Kelly, thank you. Since 1868, Americans have been honoring the men and women who gave their lives while serving our military. Memorial Day not just commemorating their sacrifices, but celebrating the lives they led and the families they leave behind. NewsNation's Evan Lambert joins us now. Evan.
Rudabeh, this holiday that we will recognize on Monday used to be called Decoration Day. It emerged shortly after the Civil War, but has been celebrated as a federal holiday since 1971.
I propose 3 cheers for those we leave behind. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip.
At the Naval Academy, the Friday before Memorial Day, a celebration of a new class of officers comes with the sacrifices of those before them, not far from these graduates' minds.
Midshipmen, for the rest of your careers, you're going to face challenges unforeseen. You're going to have to adapt, be ready to lead your people through whatever lies ahead.
They move forward in their careers on the shoulders of the more than 645,000 service members since World War I who could not. Some of those great Americans' lives honored with a simple flag outside each headstone at Arlington National Cemetery, planted there by people who wear the uniform today.
Every one of these headstones represents an individual who meant something to someone.
Graves as far as the eye can see here, more than 260,000. NewsNation recently granted behind-the-scenes access to the aircraft carrier the USS Nimitz, where we spoke to sailors who paid tribute to the fighters who gave their lives for their country.
I respect everyone who has served before me, the ones who have fallen for us, and I take that day in remembrance of them.
We'll never necessarily be able to fully thank these heroes, but it's important that we make the effort.
And in the nation's capital this weekend, a wall of poppies will be on display. That flower coming to signify the ultimate sacrifice. Rudabeh?
Evan, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.